Howdy, it's Kyle going over the welcome signs to each of the 50 states. If you're on a cross-country road trip, it's always kind of exciting to hit the next state line. You see the welcome sign and you pull over to the turnout, get your picture with it, and then move on. And that's going to be your first impression of that state. And of course, in the grand scheme of things, a welcome sign isn't that terribly important, but again, it is going to be your first impression. It kind of shows what the state thinks of the interstate leading into its state and how it wants its first impression to be. And just like other videos where I'm ranking the state capitol buildings and the state flags, this is all just my opinion, so think of it more like an overview of the 50 welcome signs just presented in my personal favorite order. Dead last is New York. Look at this thing. You don't have time to read a 1,000-word essay when you're driving by at 70 miles an hour. Even if you're a passenger, you don't have time to take all this in. It's far too busy. This stuff should be at your welcome center, not on your welcome sign. Next door neighbor Connecticut sign is also pretty bad. It looks like they were going to put something else on there, couldn't decide what to put, and this put some kind of bumper sticker off center on the sign. It just doesn't look good at all. Ohio's looks pretty amateurish and childish with that font, and find it here, like what, herpes? So I know a lot of folks in Ohio don't like this sign. This is the brand new sign. I'm not sure why they changed it. The old one was a lot better. Washington's looks like one you might see entering the state from a back road, not the interstate, and it also looks like one of the welcome signs from the early days of interstate travel in the 50s and 60s, so I think they need to update it, and it just needs to look a little bit better. I think what hurts Nebraska's the most is the font. I think what it says, Nebraska, the good life, Home of Arbor Day, is all pretty cool. It's just the presentation isn't quite there. Alabama's is pretty plain looking, and I think the whole Sweet Home Alabama thing has been overdone, and I like the old Alabama one better. It said Alabama the Beautiful, but this is what they got now. Well, it does at least say Welcome to Idaho, so at least give them credit for that. Maine's is kind of like Nebraska in that it says the right stuff. I think it's pretty cool what it says, but the presentation is pretty bad. This looks very blah. Pennsylvania went the same route as Ohio with a childish, whimsical font, but the problem here is each of the 4 lines of text is a different font. A graphic designer would look at this and cringe. North Carolina's is okay. It's got a picture of the flag, and I think it's been the same sign for about the past 20 years or so, but the one thing I hate about this sign is that it always has to say state line. So when you see that sign, you know you're at the state line, so saying state line is just kind of redundant. Vermont is kind of like Washington's. It's monochrome. It's not very exciting, and it looks more like the sign you would see entering the state from a back road. So I think it needs to be updated, but it looks okay, but I think it could look a lot better. I've never really liked Texas's sign too much, and it's kind of like North Carolina's with a picture of the flag, but what I really don't like about this sign is that I can't think of anywhere in the U.S. where the drivers are less friendly than Texas, so I think the way to improve this sign would be to put a wink emoji at the end of it. That would be much more appropriate. I never quite understood the Pure Michigan slogan. It's kind of a strange slogan for a state, but the sign looks okay. It's in a pretty neat setting, and I like the blue and the font of the M, so it's an okay sign, but definitely not one of the best. If there's one state that comes to mind when I think of the word legendary, it's North Dakota. Nevada's sign looks pretty cool, but the problem with it is that it's such a small sign, it's hard to see the detail in it. So if you're driving by, it's hard to tell what that is an image of. And the sign is only about the size of a speed limit sign, which is similar to their previous welcome sign. So I'm not sure why Nevada likes such small welcome signs. They look pretty cool, but it's hard to see what it is. I appreciate that Arkansas wants us to buckle up for safety, as pretty much all states do, but usually those types of signs are just past the welcome sign, like your speed limit signs and any kind of weird state laws you might have. So having buckle up for safety on the welcome sign, it's okay, but it doesn't make the sign look really great. I think the Massachusetts sign looks okay. I don't like the standard road sign font on your welcome signs, but I do like the rest of the sign, although that W looks more like an N. Overall, I think Georgia's sign looks okay. It's definitely a lot better than the one they had before, but I hate it when states have to put the governor's name on the sign, especially for Georgia when the governor's name is almost as prominent as the Welcome to Georgia. Indiana used to always have a pretty good sign. I think it does look pretty cool. Welcome to Indiana, Crossroads of America. It makes perfect sense, but they've recently put Lincoln's Boyhood home on there, so you already have Kentucky and Illinois claiming Lincoln, now Indiana his boyhood home. Really? That's the best you got? Take that part off. It's a pretty good sign otherwise. Virginia's is one of the more polarizing ones in that I do like the black background with kind of the weird font, and gives it kind of a striking look that looks a lot different than other state signs, but I've never been a big fan of the Virginia is for lovers slogan, although a lot of folks like it. I like how Rhode Island's sign looks pretty simple, but it's also presented in a pretty cool setting, and it also, instead of saying welcome, it says discover, giving it a different kind of a touch. South Dakota's has the right look, the right slogan, but that image is super low res, but overall, if they got a better image, it would be a great sign. I like how Oklahoma's is pretty simple, but it also looks pretty different as most signs aren't white, and I like how it references its indigenous heritage, but that L in Oklahoma looks pretty weird. For Hawaii, I had to cheat a little bit, being that there are no roads that lead into it, so this is the sign you see at the airport as you fly in, so I like the way it looks. It says Aloha, I like the font and the flower, so it's a pretty good welcome sign coming into Hawaii. I think Delaware's looks pretty nice. I like the different shades of blue on the sign. I like the Endless Discovery slogan, but just like Georgia, Delaware, nobody cares who your stupid governor is. I think Kentucky's is pretty close to being a great sign. I like the font. I love the slogan, Unbridled Spirit, the horse at the end, Birthplace of Abraham Lincoln. It's all great, but somehow it just doesn't look quite right. I'm not sure if it's the monochrome look or whatever, but I think a little bit of a touch-up and this could be one of the best signs in the country. Ah, Maryland, never missing an opportunity to slap a picture of its flag on everything. I think people in Maryland know that everybody else hates their flag, so they put it on pretty much everything. I think the sign is okay, but it's kind of busy. When states say we're open for business, that sounds kind of desperate, and several states do that, and again, nobody cares about your governor. Illinois, the third state to claim Lincoln, although I do think they have the best claim to him, but I like how the I in the sign is the shape of the state, and going right down the state is the Illinois River, so pretty cool looking sign, and I like it. I've always liked South Carolina's sign. I like how the circle on the end gives it kind of a unique look, and I like the mix of the red, white, and blue. The slogan, Smiling Faces, Beautiful Places, is an okay slogan. It was on their license plates, but they're moving away from that slogan, and I think they're putting up new signs soon, but these are the ones they have right now, and I like it. This is the one that I see the most, and I think overall it looks pretty good. The font is kind of weird, but you know you're coming into Tennessee, so you kind of know what it says. I do like it when states have the state nickname and a picture of the flag on it, so it gives kind of an introduction to the state, so it says a lot without saying that much. More than any other welcome sign, Montana's is the one you're most likely to see shot up with bullets or covered with stickers. It's hard to find one that hasn't been totally vandalized by somebody, but I think it is an okay looking sign. I like how it's kind of in the shape of the state, although it's not very curved, so it looks kind of weird, but it's kind of simple. I like how it says Montana with some mountains in the back, so it's an overall good looking sign, although it is usually going to be shot up. This sign doesn't really look that good, and yet somehow I like it. I like how instead of saying welcome to Iowa, it says the people of Iowa welcome you. A little more friendly that way, and I do like their slogan, Fields of Opportunities. It's perfect for Iowa. I like the simplicity of California's. It's the only state where all the lettering is in gold, and that looks really good on the blue background. So it's perfect for the Golden State. State flower is the golden poppy, and overall, it's just a pretty good looking sign. This is probably the most polarizing of all the signs, and of course it looks way different than all the other ones, and this look wouldn't work at all for a state back east, but I think it does work pretty well for a southwestern state. And of course the funny thing about this sign is if you approach the state from the east, you're coming into a very brown and flat part of the state, not exactly colorful. Similar to Colorado, Wisconsin has another kind of folk art woodsy sign that works pretty well for Wisconsin. This sign wouldn't work in the west or the southeast, but for the Northwoods, the Timberlands, it works pretty cool. I like how it says industry, recreation, and agriculture. So overall, it's kind of a folk arty looking sign, but I like it. But do please take off the open for business thing. It really does make your state look desperate. Louisiana makes simple look good. Something as basic as the words welcome to Louisiana curved over the fleur-de-lis just gives it a little extra touch, and the bilingual message referencing its French heritage is pretty cool. I really like this sign. Mississippi is usually the butt of all the jokes. It finishes last in all the categories for everything, but the one thing it does have going for it is that it is the birthplace of America's music, so no matter what kind of pop music you listen to nowadays, it came out of Mississippi. New Mexico likes to do things different, and that includes their welcome sign. And It's the only state in the country that has a yellow sign, and yellow is kind of like the school colors for New Mexico. I like how they keep the yellow theme running through signs and license plates, and Land of Enchantment is one of my favorite state nicknames, and I'm such a sucker for chili peppers. I love this sign. New Jersey's is also pretty unique, and I like how it looks kind of like one of those old-timey postcards, so it has kind of a retro feel to it while also being modern. Minnesota's is another one where it's not a traditional highway sign, and a state can go really wrong doing something like this, making it super gaudy, but Minnesota's is pretty cool, and it's a nice thing to see as you enter the state. Really nice welcome. Arizona's is another one that says a lot without saying that much. You get the state's nickname along with the welcome message and the state symbol, which appears on its flag. And because the state symbol is so cool, it makes the overall sign look pretty cool. Florida's does a really good job of letting you know you're entering the subtropics. So with just a couple of images of palm trees and the sun for the O in Florida, this gives it a really cool look, and you know you're coming somewhere that's going to be sunny and hot. New Hampshire's is very simple, very classy. I like the contrast of colors. I like the bilingual message with New Hampshire being right there on the border with Quebec, and New Hampshire has the best state slogan in the country. I don't think any sign says more with less than this one. I really, really like this one. I love how the S's represent the river heritage of the state. Just a very simple message. You got the sun. It does look kind of whimsical, which I generally don't like, but in this setting, I think it looks really good and one of my absolute favorites. Wyoming's is the first of two that has an actual real image on it with the name superimposed, and kind of like New Jersey's, the font makes it look kind of like one of those old-timey postcards. The scene is a beautiful Wyoming scene. The cowboy in the corner makes it look great. The only thing I don't like about it is that the previous one was even better, but this is a really cool sign and definitely one of the best. West Virginia's is the other one that has a real photo on its sign, and this was the first state to do it. And it looks kind of busy, but isn't hard to see what's going on. So it represents the state well. The words being kind of curved makes it look a little bit nicer. And you know you're coming into a state that's mostly going to be green, mostly wilderness, and it's wild and wonderful. Well, it's at least wild. Compare the blue on this sign to the blue in all the other ones. It is so much brighter. And that sunflower in the corner is really cool. Kansas is the sunflower state. It's one of the sunniest states in the country, so to have a really bright sign is very fitting. It's been pretty much the same sign design through the years, and there's been a few updates every now and then, but it's always looked really good. I'm definitely a sucker for things that are unique, and this sign is definitely unique. It doesn't have to say much, but you know you're coming into a green, wooded state, and the overall sign looks like a piece of art. These are pretty new signs, so I wonder how they're going to hold up through time, but right now they look gorgeous. Whenever I see this sign, it makes me smile. I'm coming into my favorite state for outdoor activities, and this is just a really good representation of the state. With the canyons and the arches in the foreground, the mountains in the background, and a really cool state slogan, this is a great sign. Although it does look like the U has a flat tire. And the best welcome sign in the country is Alaska. This thing is beautiful, and just like Oregon, it's like a work of art. And yes, you can drive to Alaska. You do have to go through portions of Canada to get there, but this is the sign you will see as you enter the state. I think each entrance is a little bit different based on the part of the state you're entering, but it pretty much is this sign, and it's beautiful. So there you have it, an overview of the welcome signs of the 50 states. And like I was saying in the beginning, this isn't all that terribly important in the grand scheme of things, but signs also cost next to nothing for these state governments. So it might cost in the order of thousands of dollars to change these signs, but your state budgets are in the hundreds of billions of dollars. So it's a really simple thing to change, but I think it does make a pretty good difference relative to what you're putting into it cost-wise. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up to let me know you approve, and consider subscribing to this channel if you're interested in learning more about U.S. geography, cross-country road tripping, comparing and ranking cities and states, and just stuff like that about the U.S. from more of a nerdy type standpoint. But yeah, thanks for watching. Geography King, signing out.